Hi, Steve.
Hey, Jim.
How are you? Oh, wait, hold on. That's just me. And welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast where we apparently still are suffering from a few technical difficulties here and there. But that's what led to us missing. We really haven't missed much in the past year or so, have we?
No, just a couple self-imposed hiatuses during holidays or when it's really busy for you. But I mean, otherwise, no. But it's just weird that we're having these issues. We've done it from here before, and it was smooth. And
We have. Well, you know what, Steve? No one said that long distance relationships would be easy.
yeah,
My name is Jim, and I am a record store owner.
I'm Steve, and I'm frozen record collector.
So, for those that have been following us, yes, we did miss a week last week, and that's because we were trying to iron out some technical difficulties with just a connection. And I thought it was on my end, and we've taken some remedies on this side. I'm hardwired in. We're going full 1080 on my end, and I thought it was all good. And then Steve and I hook up today, and it's still there. So
it's better now, though.
It
we-
is.
we've gotten through 2 minutes without freezing. We're doing pretty good.
Let's now you're gonna knock on wood. Let's not
Yeah.
curse this a little bit. So we're just gonna kind of do a catch up because it has been a couple busy weeks here at the store, and I think for you as well. So
Yeah.
we were gonna talk bootlegs, but I think we're gonna hold off one more week just so I can get my ducks in a row and make sure they're quacking correctly. How's that sound?
Right.
There we go. Plus, taking a week off has actually added a little bit more to the inventory, at least on my end. How about you as far as recent pickups go?
A little bit, yeah. There's some more that's going to be coming in now. So
Well, it's because I've got to ship you a box too this
I
week,
know
don't I?
exactly, but it's hot stuff, man.
Oh man, it's primo. We'll just wait till your channel sees it. They're gonna go, what?
Yeah.
God, what? Well, what do you have this week in hand, at least?
All right. So what I have in hand first was sent to me by a VC viewer. What we call in the vinyl community a VCLT, Vinyl Community Love Train. It's a friend of mine down in North Carolina, Steve Bender, the Zonk Man, and one of his favorite groups is King Buffalo. Kind of stoner rock, but and he loves this group, and I've always thought about buying one of their albums, but I never have. This one's called Regenerator, so he sent this to me. It is outstanding. I was blown away by this thing. It was so good. Again, it does have that kind of that stoner rock, kind of psych rock happening, and they get into a jam, and just the music keeps going. It was really, really good. I got a love note there on the back of that, but top notch. I think this came out in 2021. This album, and they actually self-produce all of their albums. So King Buffalo, it's a 3-piecer, I believe, out of New York.
Cool.
Then I just got this came out this year, and I didn't know it. Radio Wasteland's usually pretty good at knowing what I'm going to want and ordering it and go, hey, this came in, but
look at miraculously what's here.
You failed on this one, Madhu Mukhtar.
Oh.
And Funeral for Justice, and huge Madhu Mukhtar fan. He's out of the Sahara Desert, and so it's Taran blues. And it rocks. It's just these guys when they get going, especially Madhu Mukhtar. He's just an excellent guitarist, and the singing is in the Terran language. So, but they do have a translation on there in English, so you can sing along. It's just your words aren't going to go the same way. But top-notch album from one of my favorite African artists. If you really like hard blues, hard rocking blues, again, it comes down to putting it into like a trance, into just kind of a repetition with the percussion and everything, and really good stuff. Really happy.
Cool. Sorry, I failed you on that. But again, Long distance relationships.
Yeah, yeah. Now that one came out in February. I was there
Oh,
still.
oh,
So
oops.
yeah, yeah. No, it was
Uh,
totally new on that one.
okay.
Uh, I visited only one record store since I've been in Colorado, but I found this one here from the Shadow of Nights, Backdoor Men.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, this was really neat. I mean, it's a lot of covers that they do, but the Shadows of the Night, just one of those famous garage rock bands. Bad Little Woman. Hey, they do Hey Joe. Hey Joe is on here, so chalk them up for proper garage
Hendrix.
rock. Uh, Tomorrow's going to be another day. I don't know. Spoonful. There we go. We got a Willie Dixon on there. Yeah, fun stuff. Happy to get that. Vinyl Me Please sent me in this Boogie Down Productions. I love Boogie Down Productions. This is their second album, By All Means Necessary. It's really when KRS-One, he switched directions. His very first album was really the blueprint for gangsta rock. Then his best friend that was also on that album got shot trying. And so he goes, this isn't right. And he goes, I want to be a teacher. I want to be against this violence. And so this is the first, though he's holding an Uzi. This is a famous Malcolm X picture. Just he updated it with himself, an Uzi instead of the gun Malcolm X had and clothes. But he becomes more of a teacher on here. And really neat. This is great. I love Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One, and what he does. And he's a heck of a fast rapper. And finally, at that store that I was at in Colorado from Record Store Day, Mejor de los Nuggets, best of nuggets out of Mexico. So all your favorite garage rock is done in Mexican and in Spanish. So it's just fun. I mean, this is just a fun album. And yes, they do Hey Joe. So as usual,
It's the requisite.
you cannot be a garage rock band and put out an album and not have Hey Joe. We should probably do a thing on how many Hey Joe. Well, we did a version of. Yep, I was one of the most copied songs.
Yep, we did.
Yeah, this is great. From I didn't buy it, I didn't look for it, but there it was. I thought I'd like to have that. So
I wonder if was that obviously one of the Record Store Day regional releases, possibly, because I don't even remember seeing something like that in our list.
possibly could have been. I mean, there's a heck of a Latino pop population in Denver, so possibly. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm just happy to get that thing. It was in the various artists, so yeah, that's what I got. How about you?
Well, it's been 2 weeks. I do have some cool stuff. I should remind everybody too, by the way, and you've got some interesting ones that are going to make it, let's say, challenging to to find on Spotify. But if you're curious about the music that we talk about, and obviously for copyright purposes, we don't delve into that because they get a little fussy about that. But we do create a Spotify playlist, and we'll put that in the description, and we'll put it up on our Facebook page, so you can listen to some of the music that we're talking about in our recent pickups, and then some of the other things we talk about. So look for that. Usually the night of that we post this, but sometimes it's the day after, depending on how crazy I get. But okay, shopkeep out of the way. How's that?
Yeah.
Busy pickup. Well, a couple weeks here, and I let me start, Steve, by saying, since you're not any longer coming into the store and I can't show you these things, I'm going to tease you online. I had a small but tremendously respectable collection come in this week. Just 50 records. I would like to say I'm struggling with what I'm keeping out of this, but I think it's coming down to just I'm keeping one item out of this batch. It was a very respectable late 70s and sometimes into the 80s prog rock. So a lot of prog rock stuff. But here's the catch. The majority of it, like 95% of it, was all UK imports.
Oh, wow.
So the one that I've decided to keep, I'll show it next week when we cover our pickups, because I'm going to get it cleaned up. It's a powerhouse. At least for me it is. And this is
Okay.
And I'm looking at this. I'm like, well, I could put this out for that triple digit plus, or I could just keep it and hey, good. So
Yeah.
There's your tease. There's your teaser for next week. But man, this collection was primo. But
Hey,
this couple of weeks here, I've been really kind of getting into the rare earth stuff of late. You know that from time to time I'll see a nice one and we'll pick them up. And again, this is a Michigan group, so I'm really kind of digging this. And this has come through the store multiple times, and I actually have a couple copies of Willie Remembers on the shelf here as well. But the nice one came in, and I thought, well, I've got a couple of these for sale. I'm going to listen to this because I've really been digging the rare earth. It's a nice little trifold. Let me see if I can get this open correctly. It's one of those little trifold deals that you go through. And it's much like a lot of the other rare earth stuff that I've been bringing in and holding on. It's just some great garage funkish. It's got that Michigan rock sound to it, but it's very, very funkified kicking in on the side. So neat little ad, I think, on there with the rare earth. We'll put that one.
you know, with that rare earth, it's hard to find that in good condition. I mean,
Very.
they are usually just beat to heck.
They are. So, I mean, that was a good one. I'm trying to think of when that was. I don't think I called that up correctly as far as the year goes on Willie Remembers. Let me look on the back here and see if I can see, and I don't see right offhand. 1972. There we go. How's that?
Yeah.
So a couple of the others.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I say I haven't brought any rare earth back in since that's one of those groups I'm still kind of lacking, and I need to jump into them a little bit again. Yeah,
And again, I'm really kind of discovering them. Yes, I've been familiar with them and I've heard some of their music. I've just never really had it in the collection until the past year or so when I decided to keep a $3 copy of Get Ready.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, you talked about jam bands earlier. I think Rare Earth is one of those from that 60s era that exemplifies jam band. You can talk about the Dead. Yep. They were good at what they did. And there's several others that did, but Rare Earth, especially when they do like a 20-minute version of a 3-minute song,
Yeah.
and turn it into something. It's like, this is actually very, very, very cool. So, okay. One of the other cool pickups, I think a couple of weeks back, I talked about a Taj Mahal that was brought in. I do have another one now. This is the self-titled Taj Mahal. And let me call up the year on this one very specifically. This particular one is not, I don't have a year on it, but this was originally released in 1968. And I think that this is, judging by this, it is a 70s reissue, repop. Let me call that up here. Yep, it's a Columbia. So we're out of the 60s with that Columbia 6i. And so this is an early 70s reissue of the self-titled Taj Mahal. Some great blues on this one. He includes a cover of Easy Rider and Dust My Brooms on here, Diving Duck Blues, Statesboro Blues. So a fantastic addition to the blues collection with that one. And again, I've been kind of getting into that Taj Mahal stuff a lot lately. Okay, now speaking of the blues, and I don't mean to make you jealous on this one, and hopefully you've got this in your collection. The cover's not great, but check this one out. Buddy Guy.
Used to have that.
Yeah, this is the Buddy Guy, Man and the Blues. This one also from 1968. And it is, it's on Vanguard. So it's kind of tough to tell. You can't tell on Columbia in there, but it's on Vanguard. But this is the first pressing from 1968. And wow. Same thing, just some fantastic blues on here. And it's that more, Buddy Guy, he's been around forever. And we tried seeing him last year, but he's kind of evolved through into that electric blues, but this one feels a little more sparse, as I recall. Is that where your take on that one too?
Yeah, it was. I mean, he was just always being a session musician, and that's when they finally let him start recording. And so he was trying to kind of figure out where he was going with his music, and so they're kind of guiding him through. And yeah, I would agree with that.
But yeah, it's a very good blues album. And then over the past few days, I've done a little bit to bolster my 80s alternative. And I'll say alternative, and if you can correct me if you want to make these jangle pop. Always been a fan of Hoodoo. Always been a fan of the Hoodoo Gurus, and I've got Magna Cum Laude, and of course Mars Needs Guitars. Those are jangle pop for you, right? You'd call them that?
Yeah.
Had a neat copy of the Stone Age Romeos come in, and I don't have this one in my collection. I gave it a listen, and it's some great Hoodoo Guru stuff as well. not an expensive album. This one originally came out in 1984. I think this is one of the only US pressings of this. And if you've seen this, there's another alternate cover that looks a little bit like this with the dinosaurs, but it's a little more colored. I think that's more of an overseas version other than the US one, or the reissue one, I think was a little bit further on with the cover. But some great 80s jangle alternative. How can we coin that?
Yeah, and it's one of those groups that, if people have never tried, you can, I mean, it's very good music. And
It
it's
is. Oh
really
yeah.
inexpensive. I mean, you can go out there and get a quality album. It's just, it sounds great. Unless you only want like hair metal, then you're going to be disappointed. Or if you only want like Air Supply, well, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're willing and like kind of different stuff, Hoodoo Guru is excellent.
And 84 represents kind of that transitional time for me. It's right before I went to college and essentially discovered alternative music once I started working for the radio station. So I moved away from that 80s hard rock hair band stuff into this. And I still like both, obviously. But and then lastly, this one just yesterday, and I'm very excited about this one because much like the Hoodoo Gurus, I dig the Smithereens, saw them in concert back in the 80s and everything, but got a copy of Green Thoughts from the Smithereens. This one is from 1988, so a little bit later on them. And I forget where this comes in on their discography, but this is up there with me with I'm trying to think their other big one that had. Now you're going to make me look.
Yeah,
What's that?
I can't think of the name either. I know what you're talking about because I used to have that album.
And I'm gonna kick myself for not remembering. Especially for You was their debut in 1986, and that's the one that had Blood and Roses on it. Then this is technically their second album. There's a couple of other things listed on Discogs, but then their big one was in 89 and 11. So I do have a copy of Especially for You. We've got a nice, good first pressing of that. Kim is a big fan also, and she found a nice copy of 11 a few years back. But this one has got Drown in My Own Tears on here, as well as Green Thoughts, Especially for You, and the big one, Only a Memory. So with this and, a couple of the newer Smithereens stuff, I think that I can consider my Smithereens collection complete. I don't need to go completist on them with this, but this is a good one to have in there too as well.
Now, Jim, I was going to tell you with that Taj Mahal, I found an original version. I think it was at Radio Wasteland Records.
Possibly that could have been one of the ones that I decided to let go. And
yeah.
Now was that a pre-flood or did you find it after the fact?
No, it was after the flood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you still have a copy of this floating around in the collection behind you.
I do.
Is that the M's or the T's?
Yeah. Well, that would be I think I did put him as T because I'm super confused on that name.
But great blues, and so that should, between that and the Buddy Guy, that should tide me over blues wise for a while.
Yeah.
But that is, 2 weeks worth of pickups, and then again next week I'm teasing you with the biggie that I found that came in this week, and I'll show you about what that is here coming up next week. But again, just a reminder, folks, we'll put together that playlist on a Spotify playlist, and if you have Spotify, you can look for it. But it'll be in the description of both the YouTube as well as the Spotify version of our podcast, so you can listen to some of this music. And hopefully I can find yours. I don't think the Smithereens and the Hoodoo Gurus are going to give any trouble, but hey.
Yeah. Actually, that Madhu Makhtar it's all over YouTube. It's everywhere. So
yeah. I'll find that one and we'll make sure we put that in as a sound sample. So busy week for you as well, wasn't it? So you mentioned you finally were able to get to a record store, but your job is kind of keeping you busy. But in looking behind you and in looking at your channel, the Steve Carlson Vinyl Community channel, your record room's coming along.
It is. I got a closet. I got to kind of get organized and shelved better. But yeah, the record, I pretty much have almost all my records out. There's some classical I'm not going to be able to get out. I have room where I could add more shelving, but I don't want to because I want to at least have a place where I could put a second chair in and have it more comfortable without being too jammed up. But you can see the wall there, and then there's a door, and then there's another wall of records. So there is a lot of cubes in here. And
you're going to do an update on your channel as far as how the unpacking and I think you said too, you're going to do a follow-up on the move.
I am. I'm going to do a follow up on the move, kind of what I learned, boxes, what worked, what didn't work, and what movers think about records.
They probably don't like them. And you know what? You continue to be a trendsetter in the vinyl community, by the way. You know this?
Melinda Murphy's moving.
I saw that on her channel. Melinda Murphy is going to be moving with her record collection,
Yep.
and you can give her some pointers, hopefully.
Yes, I've already sent her a note.
That'd be good. Well, it's saying make sure that you carry your good stuff with you, hopefully.
Yes, exactly
Now,
right.
other news, we're gonna do a deeper dive into bootlegs and unofficials next week. We were gonna do that, but still plagued with a little connectivity issues. And we want to do this more in depth. I want to take some time because I really want to show off these Pink Floyd bootlegs next week. But there's a couple of other newsworthy items as well that have popped up. And you sent me a text, a few days ago, mentioning that Chance had said something about Vinyl Me Please, and we're a little, "Ooh, what's going on with this?"
Yeah.
What is going on? Vinyl Me Please, for those of you that don't know, it is the modern incarnation of the Columbia Record Club. Is that a good way to put it?
It is. It is. Yeah, that is pretty good. Not quite as cool as Columbia though, because you had a lot more to choose from. Vinyl Me Please, you look at a lot of their stuff, and you go, "What is that?"
And you don't get 10 of them for a penny.
No, no, you def you can get 10 for like $700 or something,
Oh man.
So yeah, I was with Chance Concert Buddy is his channel. He has a podcast he does with 4 or 5 other people each week. And gosh darn, if I'm trying to think of what he calls that. But if you go onto Concert Buddy, you'll see it there. And so I was listening to that at work, and they brought up that Vinyl Me Please, they fired a couple of executives because they were funneling money from the Vinyl Me Please site into a record processing plant. They wanted to make a record processing plant because they said, well, there's just been delays on getting records pressed. Now, when I was touring Third Man Records, I asked them about that. It goes, no, there really isn't. I said, someone brings in stuff, we can get it done right away. I mean, there is no delays anymore. Well, these executives, I think it was more of we got a record pressing plant, and they wanted to have it in Denver, which of course is going to cost a whole lot more. So they were taking money without going to the board saying, this is what we want to do. And they hired someone for triple figures to kind of run this. And I guess after a couple years, they're still not pressing records, but it came up that, hey, there's a bunch of money missing. And so,
Oh no.
oops. So financially, this hurt, the Vinyl Me Please site. Now, Vinyl Me Please, they started in 2012 and they began with 12 people. They're shipping out records to 12 people. It soon went to 500. I think in 2021, it was up to 80,000. So it's done very well. But so the executives say, no worries. Hey, everything's okay. Now, and I told you, and as I mentioned to you, I worked for Kmart. Okay. And so at Kmart, as we were going belly up, we kept saying, no worries. Everything's a-okay. We
Yeah.
got this figured out. Don't worry. If you have a panic, everyone leaves, and then you're going to go belly up. So it's always about everything's all right. Yes, everything's fine. And put on some Godspell. So uh,
Mentioned something too. It's like the Baghdad Bob of record. It's like, no, 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 dude, don't pay attention to the fire and bombs behind me. It's all good.
that's
So
right.
hopefully that's not the case here.
Well, I hope, because if Finally Please, I used to be actually I took, I was in 2 or 3 different of the clubs in there, because there's like five, six
Yeah.
clubs that you can be in. But they were putting out stuff that I didn't need. Or it was like common, oh look, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I can get that for nothing. So I began dropping out of a whole bunch of them just recently. But if you don't want the selection of the month and you can't find something else in there, you can get credit. I have $500 worth of credit in there that I haven't spent because I can't find a record album. Now they make these fantastic box sets, and I have a number of them: Zamrock, Grateful Dead, a heavy metal one. I mean, I bought that. A Latin one. Well, the credit won't work on their box sets.
Oh
Your
no.
Vinyl Me Please box sets. I was saving up that. I said, I want to get me some box sets, and I go in to buy them. Your credit doesn't work on these. What? What? So yeah. So now I got to go in. I mean, it kind of like maybe I just better spend that $500 because if something goes wrong, I'm not getting that back.
Well, and you coming from that corporate retail side too, you don't have a high level of trust when they're saying it's okay.
No,
And
I don't.
there was some lawsuits mentioned too, like the company is suing these they fired them and they're suing them.
Yeah, just because misappropriation of funds, not getting
Yeah.
approval, hiring this guy for triple digits and still no record plant. Again, bringing in all kinds of this equipment. So yeah,
Little shady.
yeah, it was. There was a lot of shady things, and they also bought themselves some high-end stereo equipment for their office. So,
Well,
hey, we got all this money. It's like Social Security. Yay!
that could be a business expense because we got to make sure that these records sound as good as we're saying they do. So maybe that was legit. I don't know. Well, I hope that at least for your and lots of other subscribers' sakes that they can work this out.
Yeah, it's done well. I just and they're really good for I think younger people because they go after all these kind of new artists, but they're more kind of pop oriented, rap oriented. And and I buy a lot of new artists. Anybody watches my channel will know that I constantly am buying new artists through Bandcamp and stuff. But when I buy, those new artists are not on Vinyl Me Please.
All right. Well, it's definitely a story to keep an eye on, and maybe you should do some digging on your day off and see if there's some other Vinyl Me Please stuff in the back catalog that interests you.
I plan to. Yes.
Good luck with that. So there was one other news item that popped up. We've done our share of discussions on Discogs on our podcast, and they've been stable lately. Is that a good way to put this?
Yeah.
After having some technical difficulties and just stuff not showing up right, I don't think I've noticed any big issues with the way things are going. So I think that they've been improving the work that their database is going. But now comes this news. I got one of those pop-ups on Discogs, and I'm on Discogs all day, every day, because we utilize that for a lot of stuff here at the store. This is an update to their inventory system. Let me call this up here real quick. And according to their news and looking at this, they're having some inventory management updates. Now, this is directed primarily at those who sell on Discogs and utilize their inventory. We've talked before about how Discogs is pretty much a half and half thing. For the individual and for the record collector, it is a database where you can research and you can add things to your collection and manage your collection in that way. That collection and that management side of things works just as well, and predominantly so for sellers on Discogs, i.e. you've got to find the proper release and you can manage your inventory. So they, through their continual work to upgrade the entire Discogs site, starting in April, so this came out a week or so ago, they well, let me read this. It said the marketplace has evolved drastically in recent years, and sellers need more robust inventory management tools to keep up with your business or your hobby. So this is going to affect those who just utilize it as a collection, even though it's primarily directed at those who sell. They've taken major steps to delivering new features and functionality, which is always a scary spot when I read that. But they're rolling this out slowly. So instead of just dumping this on and saying, let's figure it out afterwards, I think they may have learned their lesson on a few things. So they're saying we're slowly rolling out changes to different sellers. They're targeting bigger sellers over the coming weeks. Deliberate and slow launch will help ensure everyone can check out the upgrades without disrupting their usual flow on Discogs. So when that update is available, you'll receive an email and an on-site reminder saying you can convert this over to the new system. So some of the changes, and this is pretty much all behind the scenes type stuff if you're just a user that looks at Discogs to manage your collection. They're streamlining the interface and sorting techniques to help you see what you have currently available for sale, what has sold, what you have in draft status. You can perform bulk actions in the inventory, and not just the entire inventory, but parts of it. You can go through folders and reassign things. And I don't know, have you ever done this previously? I do this not as often as I should, but they talk about exporting your inventory. And there's this little function in Discogs in the collection where you can export your collection as a spreadsheet. And one of the things I recommend so strongly to any Discogs user is export that at least once a month as you change and update. I try to do mine once a month and I fail miserably, but stuff like this reminds me that I should, because our Discogs inventory, my collection, if you will, on Discogs changes continually. Every day I'm adding things in when they come in. When we sell stuff once a week, I pull it out of there. So it's almost a necessity. And this is really just kind of a safeguard. And I'll use the if everything's fine. But if something were to happen, detrimentally to the Discogs system or servers, I've got 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 records in there that all of a sudden it's like, well, what do I have? But if you export this as a spreadsheet, you at least have that. And that's like the older system of how we used to keep track of stuff anyway, with printouts. So, but yeah, that's it's interesting, I think. Let me call that back up here. Oops, I want it for us.
I failed miserably on doing that spreadsheet, but say you get a flood or something, that kind of stuff can be really helpful.
Yeah, and that would be because you'd have that. I mean, at least Discogs, you'd have that on there. So they're talking about some future upgrades and management and seller stuff going on through here. And that's all well and good. But I thought about this the other day. It's now been close to a year since I've stopped selling on Discogs. After, those of you who are curious on that, back up a little bit and you can see some of the episodes where we talked about this. But I feel there was a level of stress for a store our size selling on Discogs that I had to be on that constantly. And I'm constantly hoping that, making sure that we're maintaining a good relationship and feedback, especially with the people we sell to. And when they did that price, that the rate increase, a year ago, and it finally was enough for me, I feel so much less stress not selling on Discogs. And I'm still selling a few things online here and there, from people that see things on this or see our videos. And I'm okay with that. And, primarily I want the store to serve our local area here in Midland, Michigan, and those that want to visit or see stuff I'll ship out. But, it's good. I think that Discogs is doing this. And I think that you have to keep up with the technology and you have to keep changing and upgrading your systems to make sure that they're viable and workable. But when something is as big as Discogs is, as important, and we're not by any means a big, there are others that have larger inventories and larger collections on Discogs. I just kind of fear for something happening to that database.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a scary thought.
Definitely. I mean, we rely on it. And for my collection, definitely rely on it. Here's my value. If something goes wrong.
Oh yeah, especially when you lived through that. You did. And now you said I remember you saying you'd maintain your old Discogs collection pre-flood. Now, do you have that separated out, or is it all kind of one chunk?
It is. If I can sort it by everything I currently have is called Collection 2. So I can just go to Collection 2 and I have it all there. My old collection was totally busted into genres. So I could go into any kind of genre and there it was. This one, I just went Collection 2 and there it is.
So you created a folder is what that was.
Yeah.
And folder management is one of the best things about Discogs. For my purposes, and the personal Discogs, I do have a personal Discogs. I break it up into, I think, just, not quite genre, but a personal collection, a Michigan collection. Yeah. But with the store, I manage things in folders via where they were purchased from and whether they were a trade. That's just, that's how I kind of track things. So, maybe I'll get back into selling on Discogs again, maybe not, but either way, I'll just kind of keep an eye on their inventory, changes, and we'll see if that comes around and I get a notice, because we do utilize that fairly heavily.
Sure. Well, if it makes it easier, that's what it's about. If it helps you to create a lot more ease. Yeah.
Well, in the sellers too, I know that there was a lot. I know there was a lot of grumbling with the fee increases
Yeah.
last year, and I think maybe they're trying to, and that's good on them. Maybe they're trying to make things a little easier, a little better, to make amends for some of that, and
Mhm.
say, well, if we're paying this much extra, then we want this kind of functionality.
Yeah. True.
That makes sense. So lots of stuff to keep track of. And you know what, Steve? I think have we we're now 36, 37 minutes in today, and it looks like our connectivity problems have worked themselves out.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it went real smooth. So
So
yeah.
go figure.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just have to soldier on through. So next week, why don't we? And I've got everything right here, but I think we'll have a longer, deeper discussion about bootlegs and unofficials and counterfeits. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Maybe I can find some of the bootlegs that I lost my covers. I mean, it's a bootleg. Do you need a cover? Isn't like you're going to find a cover,
In
or
some cases, yeah.
yeah,
Some of the covers. Here's a teaser. Want a teaser?
yeah.
One of the coolest bootleg covers we've got out here is it's one of the Pink Floyd ones, and this is the In Celebration of the Comet, the coming of Cahotek. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. So you know what? I think I have it made. I'm just going to, yeah, I'll just go on the computer and make up some covers. It's a bootleg. Doesn't
There
matter.
you go. And you
Yeah.
can start marketing themselves.
I think
This
so.
is the only cover we've got of this
Yeah.
version. Okay, well, as always, folks, we thank you very much for listening and or watching to Two Guys Talking About Records. Please do accept our apology for missing last week. That's a little unlike us. It felt weird.
Yeah.
And we heard.
I'm very consistent. I'm Mr.
No.
Consistency. I can't have. Well, so are you. I mean,
I am.
you're everything comes on right at the same time.
And trust me, we did hear. I did. I don't know if you did. I heard from a few folks saying, "Hey, what happened? What gives? Where were you guys?"
Yeah.
It's like, well, stuff
Very well.
happens with
We're
the SH occasionally. All right, so Steve, good luck this week. I hope stuff gets continually unpacked correctly and work levels out for you a little bit.
Couple
Still
more
waiting
weeks.
on.
About a week after Memorial Day, it should start settling. But right now, it's just like chaos, and
Well,
especially when you don't know what the hell you're doing, it's double chaos.
you'll get there. Still
Yeah.
waiting on those Speedo pics with you at the pool cleaning too.
You got. I asked him, "Are you allowed to wear those?" Well, no. Oh, right.
Not you.
Yes.
You.
Hey,
All
I
right.
like the rules.
Well, you folks have a great week. You have been listening to Two Guys Talking About Records. My name's Jim, and I own a record store, and I think things are leveling out a little bit.
And I'm Steve, and I'm a record collector. New record room.
All right, we will talk to you folks next week. Lots of bootleg talk. I can't wait for that one.
You bet. All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Jim. Bye.